outlines a strategic framework for identifying opportunity triggers, which are specific lenses used to uncover potential business growth and innovation. The author emphasizes the importance of reframing reality and challenging long-held industry assumptions to gain a fresh perspective.
Have you ever had that feeling, that sinking sense that all the good ideas are already taken, that every problem already has a solution and every single niche has a business in it? Yeah, it's a pretty common feeling. But what if I told you the secret isn't finding some brand new, undiscovered idea, but just learning how to see the world differently? Let's dive in. So this is the big question, right? It's the thing that separates a passing thought from a real Greek through. And here's the good news. It's not magic. It's actually a skill you can learn. It's all about training your eyes to spot the opportunities that are hiding in plain sight. And this quote, it pretty much sums up our mission here. We're not going to change the world in the next few minutes, but what we are going to do is change how you see it. See, the key isn't always about invention. It's about perspective. So to do that, we're going to explore a set of what I call opportunity triggers. Now, think of these not as some rigid checklist you have to follow, but more like a collection of different lenses. Each one is going to help you focus on a specific part of the world, sparking new ideas and revealing potential you never saw before. All right, so our first set of triggers is all about making an internal shift. Before we can even start looking for opportunities out there in the market, we've got to adjust the way we think. It really does all start with our own mindset. So the first lens is the reframe. Experience is great. It makes us efficient, but it can also put blinders on us, narrowing our imagination. Reframing is just a creative exercise to break out of those mental ruts and see things with totally fresh eyes. So how do you actually do this? Well, for starters, you got to channel your inner 5-year-old and just ask, why? About everything. Why do we sell our product this way? Why is this process so darn complicated? And second, you have to consciously shift your point of view. I mean, if you were the customer, what would you absolutely hate about this experience? Or if you were a competitor starting from scratch today, how would you attack this industry? Next up, contrarian thinking. And look, this isn't just about being different for the sake of being different. It's about looking at what everyone else accepts as true and challenging it, because you've got a unique insight that they've all missed. And this is a brilliant example. On Black Friday, the biggest, craziest shopping day of the year, Patagonia runs this ad. I mean, it was completely counterintuitive. But they got it. They understood this growing countertrend. A lot of consumers were getting tired of mindless consumption and actually wanted to support brands that cared about sustainability. It was a contrarian move that, funny enough, reinforced their brand identity perfectly. Okay, so we've kind of tweaked our internal lenses, right? Now let's turn our attention outward. This next set of triggers is all about learning to spot the gaps, the frustrations, and all the little inefficiencies happening around us. This one is basically Business 101, but it's the source of pretty much every great idea. A problem is just an obstacle, and an opportunity, that's just finding a clever and profitable way to get rid of it. We're talking about things like lack of time, lack of money, lack of comfort, or even lack of trust. Let's look at a real-world problem. For decades, this was the absolute nightmare you had to go through if you needed to certify your English skills. It was expensive, it was inconvenient, it was super stressful. And the companies running it, well, they had no reason to change a model that was working perfectly fine for them. This whole industry was just sitting there, ripe for a new approach. And then Duolingo comes along. They just asked, what's new? They saw that new technology, things like universal internet access and facial recognition, made an online test totally possible. They went down the list and solved every single one of those pain points, offering a test that was way cheaper, way more convenient, and you could do it from home. Genius. Okay, now, I want you to look at this number. Just 10 euros. That's roughly what it costs to manufacture a pair of good quality glasses. Just keep that number, 10 euros, in your head for a second. And now look at this one. That's the average price a customer pays. That enormous gap between 10 and 400 is what Jeff Bezos would call a massive opportunity. Industries with these incredibly high margins are practically begging to be disrupted. This is the exact gap that allowed brands like Warby Parker to come in with a whole new model and completely change the game. While everybody else is chasing what's new and what's next, Jeff Bezos offers this powerful, kind of contrarian idea.
Don't ask what's going to change. Ask what's not going to change. What are the fundamental human needs that will still be here in a decade or even a century? You can build an incredibly durable business around those things.
And the perfect way to think about this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Our need for safety, for belonging, for recognition. These things are hardwired into our DNA. Now, the way we express them might change, an iPhone today, something else tomorrow, but the underlying drives, they're constant. A business that serves these fundamental needs is literally built on solid ground.
All right, for our final set of triggers, we're going to talk about business model innovation. Because it's not always about what you sell. Sometimes it's about how you sell it and how you completely redefine value for your customer.
Take bundling and unbundling, for example. In the old world, cable TV bundled hundreds of channels into one big, expensive package. Now, we have unbundled streaming services for everything. The same exact thing happened with Craigslist. Its giant bundle of classified ads created all these opportunities for specialized, unbundled platforms, like Airbnb for lodging and Fiverr for freelance work.
Sometimes the opportunity is simply to redefine what better even means. Back in the mid-2000s, Sony and Microsoft were in this arms race over processing power and graphics, all for hardcore gamers. Nintendo just stepped aside. They asked a totally different question. They created the Wii, which redefined better as intuitive, family-friendly fun. And by doing that, they captured a massive audience the others had completely ignored. Now, this is a really crucial point. You don't always have to be first. Nokia was the first mover in smartphones, sure, but Apple was the fast second. They waited, they learned from the market, and then they entered with a product, the iPhone, that completely defined the entire category. It's not about being first to market, it's about being first to own a space in the customer's mind. Okay, so we've looked at all these triggers separately, but the truth is they rarely exist in isolation. The most powerful ideas are usually sitting right at the intersection of several of them. So let's look at a quick case study to see how they all combine. When James Dyson was getting frustrated with his vacuum, he didn't just see one opportunity, he saw a whole bunch of them all tangled together. He saw a problem. Vacuums had terrible suction. So he created a better alternative with his new bagless technology. But this threatened the incumbent's very profitable business model of selling replacement bags, which was a classic high-margin razor and blade industry. You see how multiple triggers all came together to create one massive opportunity? So here's the most important thing to take away from all of this. These triggers, they're not a formula. They're not a checklist. They are a toolkit for your creativity. They're lenses you can use to look at the world, at your industry, and at your customers in a completely new light, and they're designed to spark that aha moment of inspiration. So as we wrap up, I'm going to leave you with this question. It's kind of a challenge, really. As you go about your day, your work, your life, what frustrations do you see? What conventions just seem totally outdated? What problem is sitting right there in front of you, just waiting for someone, maybe you, to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes?